Wow, it has been really long since I recorded anything. So I apologize about that. And I noticed then that the recording I did do on financials never got uploaded. So you're getting a double whammy today. And I'm going to continue on my story of my metastatic diagnosis. I can't even remember where I left off, but I did get diagnosed. And went in because I was having severe vertigo and severe headaches. And they gave me an MRI, discovered too many lesions to count, and found out later that I also had tumors in my lungs. So there's a lot to be said about having the right doctor give you the right advice. And I had neither. So fight for yourself is all I can say is you are there for you. Nobody else is going to stand up like you will. So I demanded they called my oncologist, and she had me go up to Spokane and get checked into Sacred Heart Hospital. And so that's what I did. Um, Reflecting back, I can understand what the small town doctor saw, and he talked to a neurosurgeon. Surgeons will always look for a surgical answer. Oncologists will always look for an oncology answer. So, yeah, might be the world's greatest surgeon in the world, but when you have 14 lesions, he was right. There was nothing he could do. And they didn't even know how many more might be hiding. So we went the radiation route, and I did whole brain radiation. And again, if I'm repeating myself, I apologize, but a lot of it was kind of mind over matter. I was there by myself. It was 2022, so COVID was going on. My husband couldn't get into the hospital, and so I would just enter by myself. By the end of my 2 weeks of radiation, I couldn't hardly see, and so everything was blurry. I am very, very nearsighted, meaning it's hard for me to see things at a distance, and that was just like amplified. Once I got off steroids and once I stopped radiation, it lessened and I went back to my normal vision. I did acquire farsightedness while in the hospital too. So 2 weeks, whole brain radiation. By the end of the first week, I was nauseous and throwing up. Realized later that the little dissolvable pills they gave me I should have been taken before I went into radiation, not when I started feeling sick. So we get done with that. My husband's cousin is flying into Spokane because they were supposed to go ice fishing, and he didn't cancel his trip. And it was, I know I talked about this, it was some of the best medicine I could have gotten to listen to those guys tell stories and to laugh and to just give an air of relaxation. That was the first kind of breath I was able to catch. At the end of the 2 weeks that I was there, we packed up and I had one more appointment to go to, and I had to meet now a pulmonologist. So that is the person that's dealing with my lungs. And, so by now I have like five doctors, three I've never met, and, it's very overwhelming, but it's what you need to do. So I go and see this doctor. He put me in the best mood and most positive mood of everybody I met. So we go in to see him, and I take like all these breath tests, like I get put in this little like beam me up Scotty tube, and have to do some breathing, have to breathe into a tube. They're testing my lung capacity, and I actually score like 150% above what I should be at my age. So when everybody was asking me like, "Oh, have you had a hard time breathing? Have you noticed that?" I was, no, I didn't, and that's why. And so we sat down with the doctor, and he looked over my test results from that, and he looked over, my scans with the three tumors, and I asked him, can we do surgery or should we do surgery? And he's like, no. surgery is really bad on the lungs because if you try to cut out the cancer, it actually stimulates it to spread. And we might not get it all, and then we've chopped out chunks of your lungs, and that is not necessary. And he's flipping through, and he gets excited, like happy excited. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you had breast cancer." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna beat this. I'm not worried. I won't even have to ever see you again." Because breast cancer is a lot easier to treat than lung cancer. So he kind of explained that to me and said, come back in 6 months, we'll do a follow up, but I think you're going to be fine. He was right. The lung tumors resolved themselves within 4 months of me starting chemo and radiation. I didn't do radiation on lungs, just on the brain. So that he just had my husband and I feeling upbeat and positive. I had some positivity that I could cling to, that you know what, I do have a chance. I can beat this. And so, hi ho, away we went, and we went back home. And by this time, I had been out of working for a couple weeks, and I was still in massive recovery mode. I had to go up every single week for chemo now. So we were hitting it fast and hard. And they're like, "You're healthy and you're strong. You can handle this." So fortunately, I had really good coworkers and friends, and they were able to re-sign me up for a program where federal employees can donate their leave to people like me that don't have any left because I'm dealing with such a catastrophic medical situation. Thank you, everybody in the Forest Service and the BLM and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, all my friends for donating that time. It was huge because a few months into doing weekly, mind you, weekly um, chemo, I got really, really sick. I could barely walk from my bedroom to the bathroom. I was out of breath, couldn't hardly do anything. I couldn't eat. My mouth was just raw. And so all I could have was like soft cooked eggs and soup and yeah, and my stepdaughter's Herbalife shakes. That was it. Lost a lot of weight. But I go in to see my doctor, my regular oncologist, put on jeans that I was wearing before all this hit the fan, and I can't button them. So I bring it up to her, and I'm pretty sure I've told you this, but I'm going to keep repeating it because it is important. It's something not to freak out about, which I did because I thought I was retaining water, but no, it was the steroids. So the steroids cause you to kind of hold fat in your face. So I got really fat face. With that in your stomach and in your back. So essentially, I was the beer bellied, hunchback, moon face. So once I got off steroids again, that faded away. But got back home, dealt with all this, and while I was dealing with this on a weekly basis, I ended up with an infection in my port. And the first trip, my sister-in-law was driving me. I had to go up for chemo and then an MRI. And we had told her, like, I'm really, really tired and wiped out after chemo, so I'll probably just sleep. And so when I did, she thought nothing of it. And we got home and she said, just stay right there because I was like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And I was super unstable after my MRI. I couldn't even get dressed. They left me in my scrubs and wheeled me out to my car where Heather was waiting. And so I tried to get out of the vehicle, had a mission, had to go to the bathroom, and fell flat on my face. Yeah, pretty amazing. Fortunately, my brother-in-law and my husband pulled up right at that time and they helped me up, got me in, cleaned me up, set me in my recliner, and I was just out of it. They couldn't really get me to engage or awaken, and they got concerned. So they called 911, very rural, and the volunteer EMS came up there and determined that I needed to be life flighted, which I had life flight insurance. So woohoo, something right I've done in my life. And I woke up in a hospital in Lewiston and don't remember the flight, don't remember what had happened. But I had an infection. They sort of treated it, I guess. I don't think very well because 2 weeks later, I was back up getting chemo, repeat, rinse, repeat. And we were staying the night at least. And I had a similar episode and I got taken to the Spokane hospital this time. Bigger hospital, a little bit more competent. Hate to insult anybody, but that's pretty much what it is. And I was in a coma for 5 days and woke up, asked me the same questions. Do you know where you are? Do you know what day it is? I never know what day it is. So I was kind of guessed on those answers. I mean, I knew I was in a hospital and I spent another week there trying to recover from everything that had happened. And they pulled out my port. They determined it was a massive infection that had gotten sepsis. They had pumped me full of a bunch of antibiotics, as well as I needed several blood infusions. So I was so low on that red blood count and white blood count that they had to give me infusions, which again didn't know about it, but it seemed to work. So went home, and while at home, I did a very, very long recovery. And so they dropped one of my chemo drugs, and so now I only had to take two rather than three. And we dropped one of the weeks, so it was 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and that was significant, especially for driving up there, and especially for giving my body a chance to recover. About 6 months after all that, we were able to drop it down to once every 3 weeks, and that is massive. When you are driving 3.5 hours one way, 7 hours round trip, it is massive to be able to only do that once every 3 weeks rather than weekly or even 2 weeks on, 1 week off. So I was very grateful. Still struggling to get back to work. Um, Too many doctor's appointments, too much going on, too long a recovery. But I had a friend tell me you need to set small goals. And so that is what I did. And one of my small goals was I want to at least try to return to work full time. And in 2023, I essentially accomplished that. Yep, still had doctor's appointments, still missing work, but on those days, outside of those days, I was working. Might be teleworking, I might be on my tablet. Even when I was up getting chemo, I would be logged in and I went back to work. And it was actually very good therapy. A lot of people are like, you should have just left then, why'd you do that to yourself? And it was so I could prove to myself that I can do these things. But the end of 24 came and or the end of 23 came, I'm sorry, and I was going on back east with my husband to see parents and kids and grandkids, and I'm working. I'm on my tablet, and I realized I can't do it all. I'm not being a very good supervisor, leader to my team. I'm not getting done what I need to do. I'm not giving enough time for my medical. I'm not giving myself enough time to recover, and I'm not giving myself and my family enough time of just me. And so I started the arduous process of applying for a disability retirement. And we will go into that in the next video.